MMA Fighting presents Timeline. Alex Pereira versus Magomed Ankalaev. March 17th, 2018. UFC Fight Night 127, Verdum versus Volkov, London, England. The undefeated Magomed Ankalaev makes his UFC debut against Scottish grappler Paul Craig. Craig shocks the arena with a come-from-behind submission victory in the literal last second of the fight. Ankalaev would return to the cage the following September in Moscow, Russia, and would get his first UFC victory by head kick knockout over Marcin Prachnio. Ankalaev would continue on his winning ways with a decision victory over Klidson Abreu in Prague, Czech Republic. And in November of 2019, Ankalaev would return to Moscow and defeat Dalcha Lagambula by third round front kick knockout. February 29th, 2020, UFC on ESPN Plus 27, Benavidez versus Figueiredo, Norfolk, Virginia. For the first time, Ankalaev is booked stateside to fight veteran Iwan Kuchalaba. In one of the strangest stoppages in UFC history, Kuchalaba seemingly uses the rope-a-dope technique after absorbing some glancing strikes in the fight's opening moments. Unfortunately, the technique leads to a stoppage at 38 seconds into round 1. October 24th, 2020, UFC 254 Khabib vs. Gaethje, Abu Dhabi. Due to the early stoppage in their first bout, the UFC immediately rebooks Ankalaev to face Kuchalaba once again, this time as the featured prelim on a pay-per-view card on the UFC's Fight Island. Ankalaev would knock out Kuchalaba late into round 1, and also take home his third UFC performance bonus. Ankalaev would follow this victory up with the decision win over Nikita Krylov at UFC Vegas 20 the following February. October 30th, 2021, UFC 267, Blachowicz vs. Teixeira, Abu Dhabi. Ankalaev is booked opposite his highest profile opponent to date, former title challenger Volkan Ozdemir. Ankalaev wins by unanimous decision.
And I'm not sure you're aware, but I believe you have the longest win streak in the light heavyweight division outside of John Jones. There's obviously the title fight in the main event. At Media Day, you even said, I don't think people are going to call me out because they don't know who I am and I'm too good. So is there a date you want to return or a name that you like to face after this performance?
Ну, я не знаю. Наша цель вершина, пояс. Поэтому, если кто-то выше назовет мое имя, я думаю, мы сделаем это.
Well, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how to answer this question. My goal is still the same: is the title, and well, let's see if someone gonna call my name this time or no.
November 6th, 2021, UFC 268, Usman vs. Covington 2, New York, New York. The former Glory kickboxing champion makes his UFC debut at Madison Square Garden on the prelims against the 13-4 Andreas Michailidis. Pereira wins by flying knee KO 18 seconds into round 2 and improves his MMA record to 3-1. Pereira also takes home his first $50,000 Performance of the Night bonus.
The debut of Alex Pereira, obviously a lot of people saying he might have the path to Adesanya after their kickboxing background. What were just your general thoughts?
He looked damn good tonight, you know. He did a great job defending the takedown and then, you know, got the guy where he needed him and incredible flying knee.
March 12th, 2022, UFC Vegas 50, Santos versus Ankalaev, Las Vegas, Nevada. Magomed Ankalaev is booked in his first UFC 25-minute main event. He is set to face former UFC title challenger Thiago Santos at the Apex. Ankalaev wins by decision, moving his overall record to 17-1 and moving his UFC winning streak to 8 straight victories.
Man, he blurred the line between winning and total apathy because that fight sucked. And I blame, frankly, I'm going to be honest, I blame it entirely on him. I know that it takes 2 to tango, and we can get into why that fight looked the way it did. And sure, both men played a part to it. But It's not Thiago Santos' fault that fight sucked. It's Magomed Ankalaev's fault that fight sucked. And I blame him entirely, and I'm going to keep blaming him, even though I have, predicted he's going to be the light heavyweight champion at the end of the year. Because, man, what the hell? Like, you just can't do like that. We all talked about it all in the lead up. It was, this is the fight. He wins this fight. He's going to get to fight the winner of Yuri Glover. That's it. That's gone, baby. That's out. Like, I know he came in saying at the end, well, I think I don't care. You Leon Edwards the hell out of yourself with that nonsense.
Wow.
Get out of here with that.
Wow.
And you got,
Dude, we're live, Jay. We can't take that back. Oh, my goodness.
I don't want to take it back. I hope someone sees this and is like, yeah, look, he's right. Because if you had just tried to do stuff, you probably would have won. And then having done stuff, been fun enough to be like, all right, that's the dude. There's a reason we were talking about him. There's a reason he was a minus 800 favorite or whatever. Instead, we just got that, man. Like, I'm not a professional fighter and I can't get inside their head. But it boggles my mind whenever we see stuff like this. And it happens a lot. It's not just Magomed Ankalaev, but like, you have everything you've ever wanted on the line. And that's the performance you put forth? Like, what the hell, dude?
Okay, from a pure entertainment standpoint, and we can't lie to ourselves. MMA is entertainment. It needs to be entertainment too. Yeah, that fight stunk entertainment wise. From a martial arts perspective, yeah, Ankalaev did what he needed to do, was get the W and not get injured. Yeah, he might need a couple of stitches on his shin, but Thiago Santos is a scary dude, and I don't know. It's just, yeah, it ain't gonna get him a title shot. No, we might move him down in the rankings because of that fight, just because we want to be jerks. But it happens, and
that's
yeah.
A good idea.
That was the best good cop I could do. I'm sorry.
Also, on the early prelims of the card, Pereira is booked in the Apex for the first time, opposite the 22-7 Bruno Silva. The minus 200 favorite Pereira wins by unanimous decision.
But I was actually really impressed with Alex Pereira tonight. Like, he could have gone out there and delivered a 2-minute knockout, but the fact that he went 3 rounds, the fact that he overcame some adversity, he had to do some different things. He had a battle. He had to do some takedown defense. But was it the prettiest fight of all time? No. But did he go out there and do the damn thing against a tough seasoned guy? Yeah. I wasn't shabby at all. Jed, would you throw him into a matchup with a top 10 guy right now? Would you throw him in there with Sean Strickland? I would throw him in there with Derek Brunson tomorrow.
His power does really impress the hell out of me because he has to have like super dense bones or something.
Yeah.
He barely like swings and it's thudding power. It's not like, precisely click. It's just like the whole body is shifting of Bruno Silva, who's a thick dude. And so like that was the thing that was the most impressive to me, is just like how much he could move Silva's body by what appeared to just be lightly tapping him.
July 2nd, 2022. UFC 276, Adesanya versus Cannonier, Las Vegas, Nevada. Pereira makes his pay-per-view debut against top-ranked middleweight Sean Strickland on the UFC's annual International Fight Week card.
Bom, tô focado na minha luta, né, com Sean Strickland. Todo mundo sabe, nas minhas entrevistas eu venho sempre falando, venho sempre priorizando isso.
Well, I'm focused on my fight Saturday. I still got the fight to do with Strickland. I'm focused 100% on that fight, but I'm rooting for Israel.
Who's the best striker on stage?
I mean, I would say me, but I mean, that man was the one that slept that man. So, next to me, probably Alex. I mean, what was it like, 2-0 against Izzy? What was it, 2-0?
I'll break your fucking face.
Hey,
I'll break my nail in your
get
face.
This man, Alex, get this.
Hey, man, you better focus on your guy. He's gonna fuck you up, too.
Yeah, the way he fucking slept your ass.
And guess what? Like I said, focus on this guy. He's a tough opponent, and you focus on him as well. They've been asked more about me this whole fucking fight camp than each other. So you need to focus on the work you're doing, because trust me, he will sleep you.
Hey, Izzy, why don't you tell me what not to do?
Do you have a preference who wins between Strickland and Pereira?
No, they're both big money fights. This guy talks a lot, and this guy's already beaten me twice in kickboxing. And funny thing is, I asked you guys, the press, at the press conference, who's actually watched the fight? 5 people in a room full of 25 put their hands up, and 2 were my managers. So only 3 reporters have watched the fight. Trust me, he knows I put him on skates last time. And this time when I put you on skates, I'm gonna leave you frozen like Elsa.
In an absolute star-making performance, Pereira easily disposes of Strickland by knockout with his signature left hook halfway into the opening round. The Knockout of the Year contender would also earn Pereira his second $50,000 bonus.
Eu vi muitas pessoas dando entrevista, várias pessoas no meio mesmo, né? Outros lutadores, não sei porquê, né? Talvez não aconteceu da mesma forma com eles.
Absolutely, a lot of people talk, especially fighters, you know. They think they have a chance over me, but, you know, like being ahead of me. So, feel good to prove that, and, you know, because by the end of the day, it's what the people want, and the people want to see knockouts. People want to see the style that I fight. People want to see whoever is in front of me getting knocked out. That's what I bring for them.
July 30th, 2022, UFC 277, Pena versus Nunes 2, Dallas, Texas. Ankalaev is set to face once more another former title challenger. This time, top 10 ranked Anthony Smith on the main card for the pay-per-view.
Уровень, я не знаю, куда его поставить. Я думаю, его время уже прошло. Мы это, я думаю, покажем, что его время прошло.
I don't know exactly where to put him on the scale. I think his time is over now, and I'll show it on Saturday that his time is past at this point.
Ankalaev wins by ground and pound TKO midway through round 2.
And after your last fight, you called for a title fight. You ended up fighting Anthony. In the meantime, Yuri obviously has said he would like to fight Glover Teixeira. You, in the rematch, you called for a title fight again. How confident are you that you've done enough to finally secure the title fight you've been calling for?
Ну, если то, что я говорил, сделали бы UFC, я уже давно бился бы за пояс. Поэтому мы будем ждать новостей, слушать своих менеджеров. Мы примем правильное решение. Я думаю, мы не откажемся ни от какого боя.
Magomed saying if UFC would hear him, that will be a different story. But he's not asking for anything. He just will wait. What they were gonna propose him, his managers, and UFC what we're gonna propose. He will take any fight, he's saying.
November 12th, 2022, UFC 281, Adesanya versus Pereira, New York, New York. After achieving 3 straight victories and 2 performance bonuses, Pereira is set to face longtime rival and UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. This will be the 3rd time they meet, the first 2 coming in the kickboxing world.
Bom, boa noite.
Hey, first of all, good evening to everybody here. I know it's a great event here. You know, Adesanya is talking a lot. I trained a lot for this, to be in this moment. Adesanya is talking about me. You know, it's going to be difficult to accept a knockout.
Can you really be sure going into Saturday night that there's nothing in this for you that's personal?
You know what? We're talking about MMA. You know, we all know what happened in the last 2 fights. I forgot about him. I hope you forgot as well. I'm going to fight you like it was the first time I was fighting in my life.
You know, there's a lot of people that think maybe that they thought I was undeserving, including Adesanya and his team. Originally, he said, so when I came into the UFC, that he wanted to fight me. As soon as I started to fight people, they changed the narrative. They spun things around and they said, oh, maybe. They started to run around. They said, maybe I don't want to face him again. I think I kind of screwed his mind a little bit, and he's a little bit unbalanced psychologically on this one.
Você vai estar sozinho lá dentro do octógono.
I don't speak Portuguese. You're going to be alone inside that octagon without a team.
Oh, yes, you and me. Don't worry, but they're going to be with me. They're going to be with me in spirit. Trust me. They can't save you either. They can't save you. Hey. All this shit, don't worry. Hey, he's got bragging rights. Talk all the shit you want. Talk all the shit you want. Because trust me, they can't save you either when you're locked in there with me.
Ei, Adesanya, deixa eu te fazer uma pergunta. Você quer estar aqui realmente?
Caralho, I can't understand what this guy is saying, man.
Do you really want to be here?
I am here. I am here.
After 4 rounds of competitive action, Pereira stuns the Madison Square Garden crowd as he gets a standing TKO 2 minutes into the final round and becomes the UFC middleweight champion after only 4 fights in the promotion and just 8 MMA fights overall.
Kind of how you felt things were going over the course of the fight, because you were down on the cards going into that last round.
Bom, eu sabia que era uma luta dura. A gente tá falando do campeão, né? do ex-campeão. Um cara que estava batendo em todo mundo, e eu sabia o que eu tinha pela frente, e foi o que eu imaginei, né? O que eu imaginava, né? Uma luta dura, de porrada ali. Eu tinha a minha estratégia que eu estava tentando aplicar.
Welcome to this fight. I knew it was going to be a very hard fight. Tried everything, tried to pace myself, but going to the last round, my corners and Glover kept it real with me. Look in my eyes and say, I look at him action and I say, do I have to knock him out? And Glover say, you do have to knock him out. And then I say, okay, let's do it.
Raw. December 10th, 2022. UFC 282, Blachowicz versus Ankalaev, Las Vegas, Nevada. Originally booked as a co-main event, the original main event, champion Yuri Prochazka, was set to rematch Glover Teixeira for the title. But less than 1 month out, Prochazka was forced to pull out with a shoulder injury. The UFC decides to promote the co-main event as the new main event for the now vacant UFC light heavyweight title.
I was a champion, I wanted this title back, because I know how good it feels. So I want it twice more than before. Legendary Polish power.
Но у меня очень много были соперников, так как я бился с топами. И этот бой тоже такой же обычный бой для меня. Я чувствую.
I fought lots of tough opponents before. He's just the next guy. I mean, this is just a regular fight for me. This is my way. This is my path. I need to come out there a champion. So on Saturday, you will see everything that I worked for and everything that I deserve.
The fight ends in a draw.
What are you going to do? I think the main event was terrible. What are you going to do?
Did you have anybody winning in the main event? Did you have it?
I don't even know. I started to zone out after like fucking 3 rounds. So, I heard that Ankalaev is upset and whatever. What do you want me to do? You got beat up the first 2 rounds and you took him to the ground. You started. What are you gonna do?
But I guess the question is, what do you do now, right? I mean, vacant title, a split.
You do Glover versus Jamal Hill in Brazil for the vacant title.
Is that done?
Done.
This was just a different level of chaos tonight. Like, this was absolutely absurd by the end of it. The 10 out of 10 finishes to start the night. I mean, we were rolling. Ilia Topuria looking incredible. I've been calling that guy a future champion forever. I know we're going to get to it. DDP having a statement win. Ponzi gets back into it. And then all of a sudden we get this Patty situation. And then obviously the main event follows as well. Dana White's just out here just throwing darts at the board, seeing what's sticking. By the end of the night, he didn't even seem to care about anything that happened in that main event. He admitted himself that he didn't really pay attention to it after a certain point, saying that he zoned out after the 3rd round, which is funny because by the end of the 3rd round, that was when the fight was actually getting interesting. So this whole night was very incredibly bizarre. It feels like this has just been a very weird year to begin with, right? Results all across the board this year have been very surprising, lots of upsets, lots of just strange stuff in general, lots of injuries in main events and things like that. So this, in a weird way, feels fitting as a way to end 2022. You end it with the weirdest of all. But yeah, man, strange night. Strange night. Leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
April 8th, 2023. UFC 287. Pereira versus Adesanya 2, Miami, Florida. The rematch is set. Pereira puts his newly won middleweight title on the line against the man he took it from just a few months before at Madison Square Garden in Israel Adesanya.
But Saturday night, time for talking is done. I'm going to show him my fighting spirit. And you all know I have that shit.
And for you, Izzy, on Saturday, what is most important to you? Is it about regaining the UFC title and being world champion again, or is it simply beating?
Fuck the belt. I'm coming for his head. This fight, like I've said, this is my 8-mile moment. This is it. One more shot at this. I put everything on my back. I've done everything in my power to make sure I do the worst thing to this man this weekend. I'm done with this talking shit. You guys want to hear me talk or you want to hear me fight?
Ele fez isso nas últimas 3 lutas. Ele falou a mesma coisa e não fez.
Who did this the past 3 fights? He said the same things, and the result was that.
You don't even understand what I said, not understand what you said. What's gonna happen this weekend is we're gonna fight and see who the best man is at the end.
Ele me faz rir.
He makes me laugh.
In dramatic and violent fashion, the last stylebender gets his revenge and knocks out Pereira 4 minutes into round 2. It would go down as one of the most iconic knockouts and celebrations in UFC history. It would also be the last time Pereira would compete at middleweight. July 29th, 2023, UFC 291, Poirier vs. Gaethje 2, Salt Lake City, Utah. Alex Pereira officially makes the move to 205 pounds as he makes his light heavyweight debut against top-ranked fighter and former champion Jan Blachowicz.
Obviously, Jamal Hill has vacated the belt, so I'm curious, do you view this as the #1 contender fight for a possible fight for a vacant title?
Com certeza, né? Tá tudo certo já. Porra, quero fazer essa luta, meu foco é essa luta. E mais, com certeza, vamos pra próxima, ganhando essa cinturão.
Surely the focus, I mean, everything's pretty much, the writing is on the wall. Obviously, my focus is on this fight, but winning this fight, let's go for the championship.
Pereira wins a hard-fought, competitive split decision.
I was incredibly impressed by that. And I'm just generally incredibly impressed by Alex Pereira and sort of what he's been able to do at this point in his career. Like, this man, I know you said it on the post show or on the presser show, Jed, because I tweeted it, but like Alex Pereira is speed running a potential Hall of Fame UFC career in record time in a way that I've really never seen anyone ever do it. And it's absolutely absurd when you think about it, because less than 2 years ago, this man was fighting the immortal Andreas Michailidis as just like this weird novelty. We're like, hey, maybe this will just be like a fun thing we can talk about until he inevitably loses and we don't get the Izzy fight. And now, like less than 2 years later, I think it's like 20 months, UFC belt hanging above his mantelpiece, can call himself the only middleweight to beat Izzy in MMA in the UFC. One of only 2 light heavyweights now to beat to beat Jan Blachowicz in this division's post-Jones era. And he is 1 win away from becoming the 8th 2-division champion in UFC history. Like, that's a hell of a resume for anyone, much less someone who has less than 10 MMA fights on their resume. Like, it's nonsensical. It's ridiculous. But tonight was impressive, man. Like, Jan Blachowicz is no one's fool. And Alex Pereira went in there. I thought he showed really improved takedown defense. He stopped 5 of those 8 takedowns. Pretty decent submission defense in that first round. He was thrust into a really tough spot. Alex Pereira versus Yuri is the fight this division deserves, right? Like that's the title fight. That is a fight of the year contender on paper if I have ever seen one. Those 2 Tasmanian devils are just carry like the best version of unpredictability and the death touch and all of it. Like that is a matchup that screams chaos.
November 11th, 2023, UFC 295, Prochazka versus Pereira, New York, New York. Poatan returns to Madison Square Garden as the main event as he battles former champion Yuri Prochazka for the vacant light heavyweight title.
Alex, with this fight, with a win now in the title, you would be a part of a select group of athletes that have been champions in 2 weight divisions, especially the first Brazilian since Amanda Nunes. A record also because of 7 fights. Would you look at other records? Is it important for you? Is that record chasing in any capacity? What other records are you chasing?
Bom, quando eu cheguei na organização, o meu intuito, né, era me tornar campeão, fazer as lutas que eu poderia fazer para chegar até ali, né, ser campeão. Foi o que eu fiz.
When I came into the UFC, my goal was to be a champion. That's what I wanted to be, and I was able to accomplish that. And then it just kind of happened naturally. If you think about it, I've mentioned like middleweight got hard for me. I've spoken about that. You all know about the weight and how it's so much better right now. And it happened now having an opportunity to be a champion in another division. I don't know after that. We'll see what happens.
Pereira wins by TKO 4 minutes into round 2 and now becomes a 2-weight world champion in the UFC.
Bom, significa muito para mim, né? Esse é o resultado de trabalho bem feito nesses longos anos, né? E, pô, essa conquista agora, pô, claro, sempre difícil, né? Mas muito importante. É onde eu consigo, né, mostrar pouco para as pessoas, né, que às vezes não acreditam.
It means a lot to me to be able to conquer this after so many years of training and dedication. And also it's very important for me to be able to show to everybody, you know what I mean? Everybody know where I came from, my humble beginnings. So to get here and achieve this is a big achievement for me.
January 13th, 2024. UFC Vegas 84, Ankalaev versus Walker 2, Las Vegas, Nevada. Ankalaev is set to rematch Johnny Walker as the main event at the UFC Apex. They had originally faced each other the previous October, but the fight was ruled a no contest after an illegal knee to a downed opponent and a questionable stoppage from the ringside physician. Ankalaev wins via vicious uppercut knockout midway through round 2.
Алексу я бы хотел сказать, чтобы подтвердить свое чемпионство.
My message to Alex is simple. Before he claims that he is legit champion in this division, he has to face me, #1 contender, well-rounded fighter. Once he does that, then he can claim he is a fighter. But first we have to settle it.
April 13th, 2024, UFC 300, Pereira versus Hill, Las Vegas, Nevada. In a surprise move by the UFC, Dana White announces that Alex Pereira will headline the landmark event. His opponent, former champion and the man who defeated Pereira's mentor, Glover Teixeira, Jamal Hill.
I see the interesting choice of water bottle right there. Can you speak a little bit more about it?
You know, just getting acquainted with the visual that I plan on seeing on Saturday night. I'm gonna hold that head up high.
Eu vou fazer ele lembrar desse momento aqui, quando eu estiver entrando no octógono, quando estiver tocando a minha música, ele vai lembrar desse momento.
I'll make him remember this moment when I'm in my walkout about to go into the octagon and my music is playing. I'll make him remember this moment.
Write it down, take a picture. I don't give a fuck. We getting it in. When you step in there with me, ain't nothing to talk about, ain't nothing to say. It's all right here and I'm on your ass.
Pereira knocks out the former champion in devastating fashion 3 minutes into round 1. June 29th, 2024, UFC 303, Pereira versus Prochazka 2, Las Vegas, Nevada. Originally announced to be the return of Conor McGregor, Pereira and Prochazka accept the late notice main event booking after McGregor is forced to withdraw due to a toe injury.
Yuri said they're using some sort of sorcery, some magic, some things from beyond. That's what Yuri said about you. What would you like to comment on that?
Eu acho que a gente, todo mundo, né, tem um espírito. Eu acho que a gente não vive só de corpo, né? Eu acho que talvez ele não tenha encontrado o dele, né? E como eu falei ontem, eu não tenho culpa.
You know, I think everyone has a spirit. We don't just live in a body. If he hasn't found his spirit yet, it's not my fault.
After Pereira drops the former champ and nearly finishes at the end of round 1, the champion stops Prochazka with a brutal head kick only 13 seconds into round 2.
And the high kick that you landed, did you come off the stool in a second knowing you were going to throw that, or was it just something you saw at the moment?
Desde no vestiário já.
No, actually, I was in the locker room talking to Plinio, one of my coaches, and he showed me the video of Giri warming up. And I saw that he was trying to counterattack the calf kick, defend and counter. But I told Plinio that he was doing a wrong timing. The timing was not good. So I saw that he was too focused on not taking that kick, and he was keeping his hands down and leaving the head, the head exposed. So I told him, I'm going to explore the high kick.
October 5th, 2024, UFC 307, Pereira versus Rountree, Salt Lake City, Utah. Alex Pereira is set to main event his third pay-per-view of 2024, his fourth headlining pay-per-view in the last 12 months. He will face surging striker Khalil Rountree for the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship.
A lot of fans have deemed you the glory kickboxer killer, and that Alex Pereira is sort of your final boss. He's the King Koopa. In order for you to finish this story of being the glory kickboxing killer, what would that mean to you if Dana, on top of that, gets to wrap that belt around your waist?
Yeah, I mean, this is what I've been working for.
You know, when I started MMA, everything, my life changed. It all happened kind of like by accident. But I stayed strong. I stayed dedicated. And I've always had a belief that, you know, this was possible. So now I'm finally here and I'm like living in this reality that was a dream. So what it means to me is everything. It's that time that I've always seen in my mind, you know, like now it's here. And so I feel great, man. Like I'm ready for this.
In the highly entertaining bout, Alex Pereira wins by devastating 4th round knockout.
Essa luta foi muito difícil, né? Pô, ali hoje foi muito difícil, mas eu acho que o mais difícil mesmo foi a minha preparação para essa luta. Muitos não. Na verdade, só a minha equipe sabe tudo que eu passei, né? Quando marcaram essa luta para mim, eu tava no Brasil e tive dificuldade de voltar para os Estados Unidos. Deu um problema no meu visto. Fiquei todos os dias no consulado para ver se meu visto estava pronto, né? E eles não mandavam um e-mail para mim. Então, pô, faltando um mês pra luta, saiu meu visto. Depois eu voltei para os Estados Unidos, mas assim, voltando um pouquinho, eu já tava doente, a imunidade caiu, febre, dor de garganta, tive que tomar antibiótico por 5 dias. Depois consegui fazer a viagem, tava ruim. Tem até vídeo mesmo, eu mostrando como que eu tava mal.
Yeah, the fight was really tough, but only my team really knows how tough this camp was. I went through a lot of stuff that nobody really knows about. So I was in Brazil about over a month ago. I had some problems with my visa. I was going over to the consulate every single day trying to see if my passport was ready to be picked up. Finally made it back to the U.S., spent about a week in Connecticut, been here for 3 weeks. In that meantime, I was on antibiotics. I had a fever, I had a bad throat, and a lot of things happened. Also going back, when I was in Brazil, I hurt my rib. It was an injury that I had about a year ago, and it came back. So that was also something that I was dealing with. And then when I came here, my throat was still bad. Went to the doctor, had another round of antibiotics. I even recorded a video at the time that, you know, I say in the video that I would show it if I won. So we can put that out at some point. But, you know, I went through a lot. And also the ligament in my toe that was hurt for UFC 300, that came back. So there was a lot of things that I went through in this camp. And, you know, it was a tough fight, but it was a tough lead up to this fight. And I actually feel really proud of myself at this moment.
October 26th, 2024, UFC 308, Topuria versus Holloway, Abu Dhabi. Magomed Ankalaev is set to face top 10 ranked Alexander Rakic. Ankalaev wins by decision.
He promised coming into this fight he wouldn't shoot a single takedown. He didn't do it. Is this enough to get Alex Pereira his title fight? It's the second longest unbeaten streak in the history of this division behind John Jones.
I would have to say yes.
Magomed Ankalaev gets a big win. I'm sure we'll get questions about that. Dana White, I didn't really know what to read about that, because he was basically asked, he was set up perfectly with all the accomplishments and what you said and then what he said, and gets a win. It's a fine win over Alexander Rakic. Didn't blow the doors off anybody, but it was a fine win, and he probably should be next. But what Dana was asked, he's like, yeah, sounds like that could happen. But wasn't like, yeah, 100%, this is what the deal is. But Magomed Ankalaev gets a victory. Him losing would have been really, really bad for him. And yes, Jed.
I'm going to go ahead and say this was a good outcome for Magomed Ankalaev, which I am frankly stunned by. On the watch party, we were like,
really?
Well, because on the watch party, we were like, well, it's curtains. He didn't have I'm not saying the performance was amazing. Good, solid win in a solid fight, a forgettable but consummate professional performance. But based on what our vibes were, the thought, I assumed that coming into this post-presser, Dana would maybe not shit on Ankalaev outright, but just be like, I talked to the kid beforehand, told him he needed an impressive win, didn't get it, or not going to. The fact that he didn't just outright say, no, that is not a guarantee that Ankalaev is going to get there, but I thought he'd be much more in jail than he is coming in off that. And I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if it's just because Dana was way too excited to attack Francis Ngannou for reasons unknown. I don't know if Dana is wanting to just keep his options open for Pereira and where we're going from there, and just doesn't want to commit, because maybe they do ultimately decide that there's enough public interest in this fight building. Maybe they even just looked at it and said, well, Pereira can probably beat this guy, so we can be less concerned about this. Whatever it was, I anticipated things to be much worse for Ankalaev in that post presser, and it wasn't a parade, it wasn't kittens and puppies, but it was fine. And so honestly, he should be like, okay, I kind of snuck away with one there. Let's see if I can get lucky and get my title fight.
March 8th, 2025. UFC 313, Pereira versus Ankalaev, Las Vegas, Nevada. The UFC light heavyweight champion, Alex Pereira, is set to defend his title against the surging 21-1 Magomed Ankalaev as the main event inside T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas.